Morning, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday's compliance over coffee. I wonder where the weeks go sometimes. I lose track of days. I don't know about you guys if you're really, really busy. This morning, I apologise for my appearance. I look a bit tired. I was a little bit unwell last night, feeling a bit under the weather. I don't know if it's a bug or something, so please excuse my appearance. But I do have my cup of tea this morning because I thought coffee might upset my tummy. So it's actually compliance over tea this morning, if you like. And this morning what I want to talk to you about is, are we misleading our clients? And I put a link up in the group earlier in the week, I can't remember what day it was, linking to an article that had popped into my inbox about some estate agencies that had been fined for the way that they had marketed I think it was a sale of some apartments or properties that were brand new, off plan, obviously for their clients, and sold on to investors who weren't happy about the way that the properties were being advertised and the information that was being provided. So I thought that we'd have a little bit of a chat about that, because I see a lot of presentations going all over Facebook and popping into my inbox for deals that are available. And I do wonder sometimes as to where they've got the information and the figures from that they're using. So I wanted to cover a little bit about that this morning with you, and give you about 3, and there are probably a few more actually, pieces of legislation and regulation that you guys need to be having a look at and reading up on and making yourselves aware as to what our responsibilities are with regard to how we market to people, how we present our deals to people, what information we can include, what we shouldn't really be including, and the information that we provide, where we get it from and what we say about it. So the pieces of legislation are the Estate Agents Act 1979, which talks about us being fair and not misleading and clear and professional, and various other comments as well. I find it an interesting read, but if you don't want to read the legislation, that's fine. Search for any of these pieces of legislation that I give you guide to, and there are some guides written in relatively plain English. Consumer Protection Regulations, or CPRs, and the Electronic Communication Act 2017, which is a new and updated version of the old one, which controls, believe it or not, electronic communication such as text and email, so on and so forth. So that's a little bit of that legislation that you need to have a read about, but let's just have a think about the information that we hand out. And I know that a lot of the information or the deal presentations that come through to me give ROI, return on investment, ROCI, return on cash invested, or it can be a percentage yield, or it can be so much cash flow a month. And it really doesn't matter which way you work, whether you find the deal first or whether you find the investor first. If you read the article that I put the link of up into the group, these were estate agents, and it was the buyers that complained and won the case. And the body that investigated it upheld the complaint. So the estate agents were advertising on behalf of their sellers, but the complaint was upheld on behalf of the buyers. And the buyers weren't the estate agents' registered clients, whereas quite often our registered client, our contracted client, is our investor. So it doesn't matter whether you're direct to the seller and you find the deal first and then going to the investor, or you work with the investor and you're finding a deal for them. Please be very, very careful as to what you say in your deal presentations and how you put these things across. And a few examples for you here. When we do a calculation based on the information that our investors want to know, and people ask me all the time, what do I put in a presentation? And my comment is always, what does your investor want to see? What is important to your investor? That's what we put into our presentations. One of the reasons why we source to order, we don't, generally speaking, find a deal first. We find it easier to work that way. So we ask our investors what's important to them. For some of them, it's how much it cash flows. For some, it's a percentage yield. For some, it's a return on the cash invested. For some, it's a return on the overall investment. And what we also ask them is how they calculate that, because how you calculate it could be different. And we work with their calculus, and we provide them the information based on the calculus that they give us, and we tell them that that's what we have done. If you find the deal first, then obviously you can't do that because you don't know how the investor is going to calculate it. But what you can do is be very, very careful as to the information that you're providing and make sure that it is provable. And by provable, I mean that if you're giving comparisons for lettings capability, we use obviously the online portals, but we also speak to local agents as well, and we name the local agents and the person that we spoke to in the presentation, if that's what we've done. So we give that kind of information out. Good morning, Iona, how are you? So we give them the information that they require, whether it's sold prices, anything that's currently up for sale, what condition it's in to compare it with, lettings that are currently available to let, that have actually been let recently, etc., etc. But be incredibly careful. What it does say in the report is the distance that these estate agents were using as comparisons, and also types of properties. Be very careful that the distance that you use for a comparison is close enough that it is a true comparison, and that you haven't gone a mile away simply because you can't find anything of the same standard close enough. It won't work, and if anyone complains, it has just been upheld. What we do is we try to get them on exactly the same postcode, or then we go up to a quarter of a mile or half a mile. But if that doesn't work, then we're honest with them that there aren't any comparable figures for this time within that distance spec. And they're going to go off, hopefully, and do their own due diligence anyway, because you're going to tell them that you really should be doing it. And what we also do is when we calculate the return that they're going to get, if we don't use a calculus that they provide us, we provide them with the calculus that we have used. That's what we do. Because then you're being open and honest as to how you have come to that valuation, that return on investment, that ROI, that ROCI, that cash flow, that whatever it is that you're providing them with the information for. The other thing that you need to be aware of is not to say something that isn't true, or conversely, miss something out which is incredibly relevant. It is in breach of regulations if you know something that is pertinent to the buyer and you don't disclose it, and that thing that you should have disclosed would have affected the way that the buyer behaved. And that's as simplistic as I can make it for you to understand. So please don't just think, heck, there's an all-night nightclub 3 doors up. I'm not going to tell them. They're not going to come up and view it. They'll buy it anyway. It doesn't matter. Well, actually it does, because you're in breach of regulations. You're probably in breach of your terms of business with your clients, and your client won't be very happy. You get a very poor reputation very quickly, and your business will go down the pan. So, are we misleading our clients? I think a lot of the time, you're not doing it on purpose. I think you just don't understand all of the regulations and the legislation because you've never been taught about it. No one's ever sat down and discussed it with you as to what we are supposed to be doing and as to what we're not. And there is an awful lot of it out there, and no one talks about it. But please be aware that what you put into your presentations goes out to these people. It's part of you as a professional business. It's a presentation that they could use against you if they made a formal complaint. So please just bear that in mind next time you're sending your presentations out, or you're discussing anything with your client about potential returns on investment. Because, of course, don't forget, we are not supposed to be advising them as to whether an investment is good, bad, or indifferent. We are not FCA regulated. We are not qualified to do that. All that you can do is put the facts and figures in front of them, have information to back up those facts and figures, and any calculus that you use, and then it's up to your investor to go off and do due diligence. And yes, investors should do their own due diligence, but at the end of the day, it is up to us not to mislead. If you can honestly say that all of the information that you've provided is absolutely spot on, and you've been open and honest as to the source that you've got it from, when you got it, and how you did all your calculations, then I think you'll be absolutely fine. So that is our compliance over coffee for this morning. Thank you for joining me, everyone. The next one will be Thursday morning, and unless anyone has any brilliant ideas as to what it is for Thursday morning, I'll come up with something closer to the time. Have a great day, everyone. I hope you're all going to be very busy. I'm certainly on the laptop today doing some social media work and email marketing and stuff like that, and looking at my investor registration process and seeing where everybody is in that and where I need to get up to on that. So that's my jobs for today. Have a great day. It's a bit overcast here, so it's a great day for me to be inside and wrapped up and throw a bit of a half sickie and have to make me some hot lemons and stuff like that. So everybody else, have a great day. And if you've got any questions, don't forget the Facebook group is there to help and support you. I'm here as always. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you all again on Thursday. Bye.